when I created my first startup, that's what I did. Like I raised money, tried to hire the highest number of people that I could. And I don't think it worked like that.
That's Tibo Louis-Lucas. After his first 2 venture-backed companies failed, he bootstrapped his next one to a $10 million acquisition. But first, he changed his approach.
We had this crazy idea of trying to ship one product per week until something sticks.
He followed one simple rule: follow the revenue.
Revenue was the only metric that we were following to decide if we would continue or shift to another idea.
He told me why you no longer need to raise money to build SaaS, best practices for startups looking to partner with creators, and what types of moats are still defensible. This is Tibo Louis-Lucas's founding journey.
Tibo, what's up, man? Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. I'm super happy to be here.
So we've known each other for a while now, but I actually just learned this about you when we were doing research for this episode. You're not only the king of bootstrapping with a $10 million exit under your belt, you've also been a venture-backed founder twice. Both companies had some success. One grew to 500,000 users, if I remember correctly, and the other got like a licensing deal with Ubisoft and had a bunch of employees. What happened there? Why go bootstrapping?
Yeah, but like both of them crashed eventually. And that's pretty much why I went into bootstrapping. And I wanted to go super lean and like go back being hands-on, because I don't feel like I'm a good manager, you know? And thing is like when you are at like engineering school or business school, it's like everyone around you, they are telling you, like they are looking up to being a project manager or being like the super team manager. You have to work on your leadership, stuff like that. And so that's what you want to do when you get out of school. And so when I created my first startup, that's what I did. Like I raised money, tried to hire the highest number of people that I could. And I don't think it worked like that. Like you cannot create a good product with 10 interns rolling over after a period of like 6 months. It doesn't work like that.
What happened? Like, what did you learn from those experiences, maybe about yourself, about sort of the companies you wanted to build that sort of have now taken you on this new path?
What I learned the most is that when you have a big team, you feel awesome at a family dinner, saying that you're managing 15 people at work. Like it's like you're successful. But in the end, if you want to reach product market fit, and I think that's the most difficult thing as a founder, and the one goal that you need to go after. If you want product market fit, you need to be super hands-on. Like you are the most motivated person. You are the person that can iterate, like launch more experiments, go fast, and go after specific opportunities that you will see on the markets. And I like right now, I'm pretty sure like no one else in the company can do that better than you. And so that's why I totally changed my mindset when I started this third company. We did it just the two of us with my co-founder. And we had this crazy idea of trying to ship one product per week until something sticks. And it's like, it was a nightmare at first, but it was the one key process that enabled us to like quickly pivot until we got into something that was truly valuable.
Yeah, if memory serves, you guys did this for like 4 months, right? And there were like, I don't know, 10 or 11 products. And then the last one was Tweet Hunter, which took off. What did that approach kind of allow you to do differently that led to discovering product market fit with Tweet Hunter, unlike the other products?
When you're building a startup, it's easy to get heads down in your work and forget to take care of yourself. But Mark Health can help you optimize your wellness and performance. They've got a wide array of specialized lab tests that help uncover health markers that traditional primary care might miss. They offer everything from metabolic and cardiovascular panels to hormone assessments in ways that are designed to help you get a thorough understanding of your own health. Plus, you can easily order their tests online. without having to deal with any potential pushback from your primary care provider. By identifying potential issues early, Mark can help you take proactive steps towards optimal health. Head to markdiagnostics.com now to get started and optimize your health with precision testing. Use the code HOUT for 10% off your first lab order.
I think the one mistake that many people do, and we did that in our first two projects, is you are trying to reassure yourself with anything that you see. So just a few users telling you that your product is awesome, it's gonna pump you for weeks and make you want to continue on this ideal product. If your mom is gonna tell you that your product is awesome, like what does she know about your industry? What does she know about your products? We did that with users, like free users. Free users for our two first startup was way enough for us to make us continue working on those ideas. And what changed with this one product per week until something stick is that we were looking at revenue and revenue only. And revenue was the only metric that we were following to decide if we would continue or shift to another idea. And so we did that. Like we even like reached 300 monthly revenue on one product that we killed and moved to something else because we wanted to hit like this threshold of like 1K in monthly recurring revenue until we really go like all in on a concept, like on an idea.
Why was 1K the magic number?
I don't know. To be honest, like I don't think it was a magic number. It was just a strong signal that we would need to like something that was super insightful for us is on Twitter we were actively posting on Reddit, posting like tweeting about the process, building in public, and for sometimes we were just sometimes like not doing anything like for 2 or 3 days because we're building stuff or like just building big features. We're not doing any promotional work. And at those specific times, we were noticing that we were still getting new users and still getting free trials. And this stuff is like huge signal. It means that you have people out there who found your products, even if you are not actively pushing it that day. So that was an even better signal for us compared to the revenue. We were getting revenue without pushing it. So there was some kind of word of mouth, referral, I don't know, something that was working. So that's what made us like go all in on that.
You mentioned building in public, and this is something I wanted to ask you about because you've done this incredibly well, both with your own social media accounts, with working with creators, everything. So we're getting the process out there. Has that changed? Do you think the value of that has changed? Because a couple years ago, when you guys were first getting started with Tweet Hunter, building in public it's not like there was social pressure to do it, but it massively benefited you to do it. Now with all these AI tools out there, building products can happen a lot quicker, is a lot easier. There's less differentiation based on product. And so sharing your secrets, putting things out there might actually work against you. Is that something you're thinking about?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you summed it up pretty well. Like it's the main difference is that when I started building in public, this was like more than 3 years ago. Building was hard, like much way harder than it is right now. When you think that you can create a full app right now with like so many advanced features and leverage AI on so many things, if you are hitting some kind of success, it's pretty easy for a newcomer to copy paste your app and sell it for like half the price. It's very hard to like on most products it's hard to build a moat. And so if you don't have a moat, like why would you build and share all your secrets? That's a very like that's a strong question I have right now. And so I don't have a clear answer on is it worth it. The one key thing right now I think is if you are a nobody, like you don't have an audience, you don't have any success, you don't have a working product, well, you don't have anything to lose, and it can be a great way to start. If you have 100K followers, it can really work against you because you are being looked over constantly, and every new thing that you will ship is going to be copied. So if you share about them publicly, you need to be like comfortable getting 100 copycats very fast.
Yeah, we've seen some instances of this on X. I think even in the past few months, people complaining about it. What do you think founders should do instead if they do have a big audience, or even if they're just have a decent audience? What should they be doing instead of building public? What's next for these types of growth strategies?
One thing that I think you are doing, and I think you're right, is going on YouTube. The value and the engagement that you have there on YouTube might be worth the potential issue of being copy pasted. You know, the more engaged your audience is, the more valuable it is. And so it's always a balance of how valuable it is to share about your tips publicly compared to like the price of all those copycats coming.
Yeah, the potential downside. You mentioned moats. I've been thinking a lot about moats basically ever since ChatGPT came out at the end of 2022. What are the moats today? If product can't be a moat, where do the moats live? Both for companies that want to get maybe really big, but also just for bootstrappers building products.
I see three main modes. Is I think so there's data. Like you often have like a in-house data that are super valuable, and they are much harder to copy than the product itself. Second one would be distribution. Like you have a key distribution channel that you have access to, and nobody else. Having a YouTube audience is a great example. And the third one is, I guess, users and network effects. And you can see that it's like the network effect of X and like Twitter is super strong. Like if you are the president of the United States of America or a random CEO, you might want to publish only on the place where most people are listening.
I saw people getting banned, and I was like, I don't know if this place is for me.
All-time fear right now is getting banned on many platforms.
Well, platform risk is real, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
you cited that last time we talked actually about like why you decided to sell Tweet Hunter, right? You were like, oh, well, Elon's just taken over Twitter then at the time. And you're like, I don't know what's going to happen to the platform. People are leaving. Is this product that I've put my blood, sweat, and tears into still going to be as valuable? And so that helped drive the acquisition decision. So, I mean, yeah, platform risk is real.
Yeah. Do you know that my LinkedIn account got suspended? Hopefully, I'm out of Tapio, like my former LinkedIn product. But when I got out, like in last April, Tapio was 2/3 of our revenue. And so getting a hit on LinkedIn like this, I'm so happy that I sold. It would have been a nightmare to manage.
Yeah, 100%. It's tougher to market that way too if you're not on the platform yourself. I guess, looking at it now, we're a couple years on from Elon acquiring Twitter. It's now X. The platform's going fine. It's actually growing. Any regrets?
People are fighting for engagement more than ever. So I wonder, like many people are blaming the new algorithm for some hits on their engagements. It's super hard to know if lower engagements could mean less users or less bots, and maybe before you had the engagement from bots, or a real algorithm change, So it's the truth is we have no idea what's going on there. Like it's a complete black box. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm building a new app for X. Like after I'm basically trying to do over to redo what I did for Tweet Hunter.
Oh.
And so I'm gonna get exposed again on all those things. And so I'm gonna feel naked, I guess.
Yeah, I think they've taken a harder stance against, I think, third-party apps in general since Elon took it over. Are you worried about, you said you've been suspended on LinkedIn. Are you worried about getting suspended on Twitter?
Yeah, because like LinkedIn for me was a like secondary platform. My primary platform has always been X. I'm super scared that I could just get banned like this in a day, and and I couldn't do anything about it. But that's the game. Like it's easy to complain, but without those platforms, it's super hard to grow an app.
Yeah, I mean, you guys mastered growing on X for Tweet Hunter. You were using so many like micro influencers, giving them even equity in Tweet Hunter to keep promoting the product. What was that like? Because I see a lot more people exploring that now, actually to the degree that we're building it into Megaphone, these like creator partnerships, sponsored posts. How did you see that so early, and sort of how did you approach those creators?
I think it's a little bit like many things in life. I was not planning for all that. Definitely not. And the one key thing that started this entire journey is I think we were a little bit above 1K in monthly revenue. I was reaching out to a lot of Twitter creators. Like I was trying to get big Twitter creators using Twitter. And one of them got like this super ballsy and weird reaction where he said, "I want in." And I didn't really understand what it meant, but he basically wanted to like get into the journey. Like, he wanted to like get at the co-founder level. And this guy was GK Molina. He was like a growing creator who was talking about the exact methodology that we were having with Twitter. Like he was setting this concept of having like an inspiration wall, like a tweets wall to inspire you on how to write better. And from the very beginning, it was a strong fit. Like his audience was the exact audience that we were trying to reach with Twitter. So we found a deal. It was very generous. We gave him until up to like 25% of Twitter. And this like it started this all like it started this idea of sharing equity with people. And so we did it again at a much lower scale with like 17 different creators. We gave them 0.1% of Twitter, and we realized that it was giving us this huge power, like huge. We had like 17 big creators strongly incentivized in us growing, and so at every new feature launch, at every new things that we were announcing, we had this huge pool of people that were pushing us. It works so well. But what I meant here is that we didn't plan all this. Like we were just reacting to people like hinting us this idea. Like they were just sharing about, they were just pushing in this direction, and we just listened. And I think right now, like you have so many things happening. It's a real work, but that's how it works. Like you need to just listen to the market, listen on X, just observe, start experiments and see what works, and just double down on what works and kill what doesn't. Like relentlessly, like kill what does work. Do not, do not like push harder on something that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. They, maybe they're sentimental. Maybe they feel like they put effort into something and they have like an issue letting go of it. How do you kind of force yourself as a founder to just say, this might be my baby, but I got to move on from it?
You know what? Like because I'm saying it helps me just remembering it, because and I did this mistake so many times. First startup that I did, I spent 2 years on this IDE, whereas it should have been 3 months. After the initial 4 months, the app that we created was not working, so we raised money to build a better version of the same app. And it was such a mistake. It was like just so dumb. And we did it again this year. Like I wanted to create an app, and so we outsourced the development to a developer. It like after 3 months, it was supposed to be a 1 month project, but after three months, the app was not really working. Like obviously there was no fits between the developer and the ID and the products, but we just kept going, and we entered into this cycle of let's add 2 weeks of development, let's add 2 weeks. And because each time you add 2 more weeks, the amount of money that you spent on this project is growing. And so you don't want to waste this money. Like the longer you spend on these projects, the higher is the amounts. And so the higher would be the amounts that you would lose if you kill the projects. And so you don't kill it, but you have to like just kill the project.
You mentioned that you have sort of outsourced this to a developer. And I think, at least in Silicon Valley, there's like strong pushback against that idea, right? Early on, you're like, you have to be in the weeds, you have to be writing the code, maybe working with AI these days, but they don't have as much skin in the game as you do at the end of the day. What makes it worth it? Because I've done the same. I've outsourced stuff to developers. It's worked fine. What do you think makes it worth it to do that?
It doesn't. It doesn't work. the the only thing that I think that it can work if you are like pressurizing the like you give like strong package, like super high package, and you hire a very highly talented people. That's not what I did. Or you hire someone that is like way more junior, less experimented, but you are super hands-on managing the guy. And that's not what I did either. So what I'm doing right now, and I think I'm gonna do that only, is just equity partnership. Like I want to work with people who have like strong skin in the game. I want to be highly motivated because it's their baby. And most of the time I'm gonna work on ideas that are not mine. Because it's incredible how people are motivated when it's their ideas and not yours. Do you follow me?
Is this related to what you've been doing, I think, recently, which is, you've bought some products that already exist, like you bought Feather, you bought type frames, obviously you sort of forked type frames. We could talk about that. But yeah, is that sort of that strategy playing itself out?
Yeah, exactly. Like the last one actually is a project called Outrank. It's outrank.so. It's keyword generation tool plus blog post generation. And so it will try to understand your niche and will publish one new blog post every day to rank on a specific keywords. And so the idea is to get traffic on autopilots. What I did here is I noticed a guy working on this product on its own and getting some kind of success. But like what I mean by here is like 300 per month in monthly revenue. This is a very nice spot, like 300 in monthly revenue. It means that you have something valuable here. Like you have something, but it's not shaped in a good way. Like the packaging around it is not well. I got into this project. We made an equity split. I got hands on. Together we reshaped the app. We changed many things. We improved generation. I got involved into the prompting, and the product that we got working is much better right now. And I think it worked very well because the guy that I worked with, it was his ID. Like the foundation ID is his, so he's super motivated to make it work. Like we have very strong positioning. Like I'm focused on distribution, he's focused on building. It just worked. Like we launched yesterday. We got 50 new free trial working. We're already at 2K in monthly revenue, and I hope to get it like to 5K in a few weeks. We see how it's going, but it's working.
300 a month is not a lot of money, right? And there's probably a lot of products, like a large number of products that are at that level. How do you identify a product that early that you can get to 5K a month or 10K a month or 100K a month or beyond?
I'm scrolling Twitter. And honestly, like many people are looking for magic recipe on how to find those, but that's my way. Like I'm seriously scrolling Twitter and trying to notice the cool stuff that I see. It's just that simple. And then I engage, talk with people, ask questions, ask many questions. That's my way.
So you basically, you trust your intuition to say, this looks interesting. And then you go deep and ask questions and kind of learn, okay, how promising is this actually?
Yeah, I also think that you need like a power. You need to be a power user of Twitter in a way that you need to set up a few things on Twitter that are not there by default. Otherwise, you would just get like the more viral, like you would just get the viral memes of the day on your Twitter feed. But if you set up like lists, use my other product, Super X, and a few other like power user things, yeah, you can notice those guys and try to engage with them.
When you are engaging, how do you decide how much to invest into these acquisitions or these equity partnerships, as you call them? And like, how do you determine that it's worth doing that in the first place?
What I'm trying to do every time is trying to like have a working version in less than a month of the new vision that we will have together. And so it means that in less than a month, just by working together, we'd have something to put into the hands of users. And that's what we did. And so I DM'd a few people asking them to just try it. And I got some very good feedback. And so let's go to phase 2. Phase 2 is spend another month trying to deliver more value, DMing more people and see if I can get these to like a little bit above 1K in revenue. And if I get into this stage, let's work on it more and let's launch. And that's what I did yesterday. The launch has been doing quite okay. And so I'm going to spend more time and try to get this project to the new stage. And it means activating SEO, looking at maybe new acquisition channels and see what I can do here.
And when you actually decide that, hey, this is a product that has promise, that I like working with the founder of, and I can see a partnership with them, you know, if something's doing under 1,000 a month in recurring revenue, how much are you investing into the product? Like, how much are you actually putting into it?
I'm not really putting any money. I'm just putting my time. I'm putting my time, my audience, and activating like every channel that I can. No, I don't think it's bad at all for both of us. What changed, and I think I'm gonna work with this kind of deal only from now on, because when you are just putting money on the table and paying a guy to do the work, even if he still has some equity, the how much skin in the game you have is much lower.
Yeah, I agree, because you have that flat amount sort of coming out. Sort of related to this, in your newsletter, you mentioned that people should buy assets or products rather than buying companies. Well, what did you mean by that?
I think it's just a legal thing. I sold my company and I saw how complicated it is. Like it's so hard. Like you have so many things to handle, like the selling the equity, paying tax, having contracts super well suited. It's so much easier when you restrain the selling to a specific asset and not the company. In some cases, it's not something that you want to do for tax and accountant reason. But if you can, I think it's so much simpler.
Yeah. I mean, when you sold Tweet Hunter and Taplio, they both got sold together. I imagine that was under like the company, right? What was that like? What were the pitfalls that you sort of realized you wouldn't recommend other people to go through?
In this case, I honestly think that we would not be able to avoid that. Like I think it was the right thing to do. I'm not talking about this specific case. I'm more in my newsletter when I was talking about asset sell instead of company sell. I was talking about micro acquisition, which we did a lot. I think when we were working at Twisted, we acquired more than 10 tools, and people thought that acquiring 10 tools is a hard thing to do. It's really not when you are talking about 10K USD assets that you're just you just basically what it means is people think that's super long process and super hard to do, but basically what we're doing is wiring the guy 5K, getting all the assets, and wiring 5K more at the end. That's pretty much that, and the contract is less than one page, generated by GPT-4, and that's it. It's really something that you can do.
Want to get more insights like that? Each week, I actually interview multiple founders. For the ones who don't join the podcast, I write up a case study and share it with all founding journey members. I also write weekly tactical deep dives, share startup opportunities, and analyze trends that I'm noticing. We've also got a community of founders, an investor and pitch deck database, and more fun stuff like over $60,000 in perks and discounts to help you build, grow, and raise capital for your startup. Go to join.foundingjourney.com to get access.
We've seen the similar thing. We've acquired a couple of newsletters over the past year and a half or so. And it's the same. We literally did it we did one of them in 30 minutes over Twitter DMs. On the newsletter front, you guys, you have Feather now. And
Another one of my tools.
with tools, right? You've turned it into a newsletter tool to compete against, some of these really big players in the space. What's that been like?
The story is nice because I didn't plan this. It's been a while that I wanted to acquire Feather, not to turn it into anything, but because I got a lot of money from the acquisition of Twitter.io, and that Feather got very healthy metrics, like very low churn, constant growth, and it was very attractive to me. I was a user, and so I really liked the products. But during the acquisition process, Beehive did this crazy price change, and I was just like blown away. For me, on my particular case, I would have to pay 2.5 more for the same thing. I did so many price increases in my life, like on Twitter. I think on TweetHunter we raised the price 5 times, but every single time we were grandfathering all the users, meaning that user who joined before would just keep paying the same price, and all the price increase was like 20% or 30%. Here is 2.5 more. It's crazy. I was going from 100 per month to 250 per month, and so I was thinking that many people would be in the same position as me, and so I found this other tool which were sending newsletter from Notion. And so I just reached out to the founder and decided to acquire it as well. And so I acquired both those tools, Notion Sender and Feather, and I merged the capabilities of Notion Sender into Feather. And I was super surprised. Like it went very well. The newsletter feature itself was very hard to do, like much harder than I thought. But once we released it, like the growth of Feather kicked in, and we got some very nice results.
So you have a ton of these products now, right? Like we've talked about, I think at least 4 already, and I know there are more we
4.
haven't talked about.
4 products that are bringing revenue.
Okay, so let's talk about those 4 then. So you stated at one point that you had a goal of getting 5 companies to 100K MRR each over the next 3 years. Are these 4 part of that 5? And I don't know, tell me why that isn't an insane idea to try to do 5 at once.
Because of what we talked together before, like because it's getting way easier to build, I want to focus on something that I find very valuable, which is distribution. I want to build a very strong acquisition engine system, and to make it profitable, I think it's worth it to make this engine work on multiple products. 4 is very hard. Like I feel right now that I'm almost at maximum capacity. So getting to 5 is gonna be very hard too. More than 5 would be crazy too. I do think that by setting the goal of 100K monthly revenue per project on 5 projects, this is definitely not what's gonna happen. I hope that maybe 2 or 3 are gonna be in this range. One product probably gonna be in the like 10K, 20K range, and I hope that one of them is gonna blow up, like way above this 100K per month. I hope that this is what's gonna happen.
Traditional advice would say that focusing on one thing is where you make more money in the first place, right? So when you do have one of these blow up and maybe even exceed, hopefully, where TweetHunter and Taplio got to, are you going to focus down on just that, maybe sell off the others, or what's your thought there?
I have no idea. I'm building every single product with co-founder, and so I would not be the only one deciding for sure. I love that. I love what this guy Andrew Wilkinson is doing. He has like this umbrella company with many different companies, and I love to see that you can maybe transition from making one product to building this system of products working together with a nice distribution engine. That's what I'm trying to create. It indeed it goes against every single advice that you can see on many places. But I want to try, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna learn a lot along the way. From day zero, I've been working on many things at once. Like even when we were working on Twitter, we had those second product, Tapio, and it's the one that's made the most revenue. And it's often the case. Like you have so many examples, like AWS doing more than Amazon Marketplace. You have so many examples on Earth. So I want to just try this.
Andrew Wilkinson's actually a great example with Tiny. People call Tiny the kind of like, the modern, or some call it the baby, but it's at this point it's a pretty big, it's a public company, but they call it like the baby Berkshire, right? Baby Berkshire Hathaway. Do you see AI as having like uniquely enabled that structure to actually be more, not just viable, but more likely to lead to financial success for somebody than the traditional path of just going all in on one thing?
I don't know, maybe. The thing is, I think we have no idea where we are going with this. Like if you can just prompt to create a software and you have a full SaaS working from just one prompt done in a day, like it means so many things. Like so many things are going to change because of that. And so it's very hard to see where value is, what's left in the work that we are doing right now. And so I don't have an answer to those. The only thing that I see is that just moving quickly, doing things, shipping things is, I think, the only thing that can work.
So you mentioned that with each of these projects, you have a co-founder, right? Exactly one co-founder per project, I think. You also mentioned earlier in the conversation that you don't want to be this big people manager. That's not maybe where you're most excited about spending your time. Does that mean that as these grow, it's just going to be a two-person company essentially? And is that sort of also uniquely enabled by AI now?
I think it's true. Yes. So the why I do like this system is that co-founders don't really need managing. Like they are people like me starving for success. They want to like grow the products, and they're grown up and they know where like they just they don't need me to lead them exactly where we should go. So we have our own responsibilities. I'm doing everything I can on the distribution side, and I do agree that AI is helping a lot in making us. I think we are both worth like 10 people from like 5 years ago. So yeah, I think we can achieve a lot with AI.
I want to talk more about co-founders. So when you started Tweet Hunter, right, you went back and worked with Tom, and Tom was your co-founder actually on the first venture-backed company. How did you know at that point that Tom was the right guy to go back and build with again after having built something that didn't get to where you guys wanted to? And similarly, how are you kind of evaluating these new co-founders on these new projects?
I think it was almost a perfect fit with Tom because for a few reasons. Is the first thing is it's super easy to communicate with him. Like it's every time we have an issue, every time there's something wrong, we are both able to communicate frustration or every other feeling that we have. It's easy for him and I to say, I feel frustrated. I don't like how this conversation went. I feel like my ID got rejected for wrong reason. And it's very likely that something's gonna go wrong at one point with the co-founder. And so being able to share this is super valuable. And at the same time, we often disagree. We have so many, like there's so many topics where we disagree with each other, but overall we want to go in the same direction. And I think that's super powerful. Like you have this baseline of we communicate on the same way, like we speak the same language, we come from pretty much the same background, but we have very different ideas and we have very different skills and mindsets. I want to go very fast. I will ship first and think later. I will go quantity over quality, but Tom is gonna hold me and it's gonna force me to deliver higher quality on some topics. He's gonna tell me on this specific thing, you need to spend way more time and make it better. And so there's super nice complementary. I'm trying like with my new co-founders on my new products. I'm trying to find this, and I know that on some products we are weak on some aspects, way weaker than when I was working on Tom. It's super important for me to like acknowledge this and work on that, because we like obviously Tom and I we know each other for like 10 years, and so it was the perfect match.
Yeah. What do you do when you realize that about these new co-founders? Maybe some of them you guys aren't on exactly the same page, or
I'm trying to change my mindsets with some of them compared to the other one. Like because for one of them, I know that I need to be the quality guy, whereas I was the quantity guy before.
different versions of Tibo.
Yeah, trying to. It's not working yet, so we'll see.
Any tips for other founders who are on the same page, or maybe they're seeing things differently than their co-founder?
I think like the one thing that I would advise is if you have a latent problem, if you have an issue and like waiting doesn't solve anything. And it's, in my opinion, it's as soon as you have an issue with anything, it's much easier to talk about that, possibly risking the collaboration. Because if you wait, it's just gonna be harder and harder to talk about it, and eventually you will just like blow off.
When you were working with Tom and you guys were starting from scratch and you're going through that process of, you know, 11 products in a couple months, one product a week, what were you doing to decide sort of what to build, how to validate it, and also whether you would take funding for something if it did take off? How were you guys thinking about that as a co-founding team?
I think it was not just like, I'm not sure it was like crazy things. We're just basically talking on Zoom, trying to brainstorm together about what could be valuable. The one thing that I think was interesting is if we got an idea, we would try to ship during the same day. And I mean by that, if the product, like during a Zoom call, we could have something that we would find super valuable, and I would end the Zoom call and just start coding and try to get this idea up as soon as possible. And it was, I think it was super appreciated on both sides that both of us were able to s- like just ditch anything else and focus on the one idea that we got that we think is valuable.
And did you guys know from day one that you were going to bootstrap, not take funding, that you wanted to also sort of exit at some point? Was that all planned?
Yeah. This was planned. Like the goal was work on an idea, make it go to 10K in monthly revenue, set it for 1 million in less than a year, and start over. It didn't really go like that because Tweet Internet WO grew way more than 10K monthly revenue. And something unexpected happened is that we wouldn't find any buyer willing to buy this without having us on board for 2 years. And so this totally changed the plan of build, sell, start over.
Staying on for 2 years, That's a considerable ask, I think, for someone like you or me who's sort of just loves to build things. How did you find a deal structure that worked for you?
Just one thing before answering, but I think it's not that it went wrong, but I'm pretty confident that right now I would not said anything which require me to stay 2 years in business. Like I now consider my time to be way more valuable than it was before, and 2 years is just huge. So not anymore. But
Yeah.
your question is very legit. Like we had a very early business. Like I think it was almost a year old when were thinking about selling it. Like when we had the first talk about selling it with the buyer, and so it was super risky. Elon Musk took over already on X. We knew that we were not really compliant with the LinkedIn rules, so there was so many risks. And so the deal that we found is that only 20% of the acquisition price would be paid upfront, and 80% of the acquisition price would be based on performance milestones based on monthly revenue. There were 6 milestones that would unlock that would allow us to get from the 2 million upfronts up to 10 million. And we unlocked 5 of them. And so we reached an 8 million as a final acquisition price.
Is that a structure you'd recommend to other founders, like trying to find a creative solution like that?
Mostly, yes. I think in our situation, we couldn't have avoided that. But one thing that was pretty bad about this deal is that those 2 years was very stressful. Like it was really, we sold, we got acquired, and we could have thought about, okay, so now even if we need to stay 2 years, it's going to be transition time, and we're going to train new people, and they're gonna like get into the project, and they're gonna manage it. It was really not like that because of those milestones, and because of the performance thing. We were like so pressurized, like we were working even more than before.
You're still in founder
So
mode.
yeah, definitely. So it's a very tricky question. We would have we would have earned more without selling it, but we got like so many things happened. We got suspended by Twitter at one point. We recovered from that, and then there was a LinkedIn ban. So we are very happy that we sold.
Platform risk again.
Yep, exactly.
For founders who make it to the point where they know they want to sell, how do they know they found the right buyer? In your case, it was like a childhood friend, right? He ended up buying.
Yep, it does really matter. Like we got into codes where we get acquired by very big US companies or a very big Indian company, and it was very hard to have like a good and constructive talk. We like obviously we're like just living very different lives, very different way of seeing things, and so I have no idea how it would have gone, but I'm pretty sure like we got a very nice deal from a French company, pretty much like it's a 60 people company, so still very small, very easy to talk with the founders and the executive team. So I'm super happy with how it went.
Any tips for other founders who are negotiating deals?
Yeah, something which I think is very important is we all focus on the numbers, but the terms, they're so important. The terms is gonna make you bless your lawyer or uh, want to kill him. It's like we skip them because we want the millions, but just make sure that the terms are okay.
While bootstrap companies can get huge, in general, typically a venture scale billion-dollar type outcome is out of reach unless you're raising money and going as fast as humanly possible. You raised venture initially, as we talked about, and then you went to the bootstrap route. Was that a function of like your goals changing, or did you just want to get a win under your belt? Like, what was the thought process there?
I think it was about how much I value my freedom. COVID had an impact here. Because of COVID, we were nomading with my wife. I wasn't physically present in Paris anymore. The thing is, if you want to raise money, you need to talk with VCs. You need to hire a team, and it's way harder to do that when you are traveling. And so I was kind of forced into this new life of bootstrapping, and I really enjoyed it. So it was a very happy accident.
Since you've done both now, would you recommend other founders do one or the other first before trying the opposite?
If you run the math on how much you can get as a founder raising money with a very successful startup, it's not that much, because very often you gave away huge percentage of equity. And so I would definitely recommend bootstrapping, even in this context of like AI blowing over and cost of building going almost to zero. So I do think that you need less money than you ever had. I'm getting messages from people, like I'm getting a lot of people trying to like give me money to do things. Like they want to invest into things that I do, like into products, into new startups, but I don't need it. Like I honestly don't need money to create SaaS right now. And so why would you raise, and what, like, taking money is always something that sounds appealing, like you want to take it just in case, but it adds so many issues. It has so many problems.
What do you think is the future of SaaS? Right? You mentioned right then that, SaaS is getting easier to build. You need less money for it. We talked earlier about how AI is impacting product not being a moat. Where do SaaS builders go from here? What's it going to look like 5 years down the road?
I think it really depends on where AI is going to go. If it's true that AI can build a full SaaS in just a day with prompts, I think that many companies will have a guy who will like build the perfect SaaS for them with AI. And so they will almost not be paying for any software except those guy building and maintaining a huge number of SaaS. Maybe it could go that way. Another possibility is that this is overhyped and AI will not be able to do that in a long, long time. And so we're gonna stay in pretty much the same situation as we are right now. You have a lot of competition. Like it's way easier to build than it was before, but we still value very well built software. Something that was not the case before, I think, is right now I'm buying SaaS because I know the founders, and I want I want to be closer from them. Like like I love the founders so much that I want to give my money to them instead of the competing product, even if it's better. Yeah. And I think this is gonna be more and more powerful.
Talk about that a little bit more. Like, in what way is that going to be more powerful?
One example is Damon Chen. Damon Chen, the founder of Testimonial.2. I love so much how, like, who he is. Like I love how he behaves on social media. I love who he is as a person. Like the fact that he's a father like me, how he's nice, helpful, and how he talks to people. And so if I'm paying for embed of a wall of tweet, like a testimonial tool, I'm gonna be paying for his tool because I like who he is as a person.
So the value of a personal brand goes up even
Exactly.
more.
Yeah, exactly.
With what you mentioned about sort of having the perfect guy to build a tool for a specific company instead of buying all these external SaaS products, I think we're going to see the result of that, or at least the viability of that, pretty quickly. Klarna announced a few months ago that I think they're stopping a lot of their enterprise contracts with like Salesforce and Workday and other big tools like that. And they're building everything internally with AI. So I think pretty quickly we're going to see if there are viable businesses to help companies do that or not based on whether they go back to base contracts or not.
Especially like workday or like tools related to legal thing, it might be something that it's too soon, I think. But when you look at what Salesforce can do, like when you look at all the custom things that you ask to Salesforce, and like you need to hire developers working on Salesforce to customize it for you, it feels obvious to me that you can build something better, very specific to your use case internally.
I think intuitively that makes sense to me too, if we are to believe that AI is as helpful and as good as we're being told. Cool. One more topic I want to hit on before we go into our little rapid fire outro that we do is burnout, right? So you did 2 venture-backed companies, you scaled them up to decently sized teams. After that, if I remember correctly, you actually got a job at a scale-up as CTO. What was that like? Were you sort of burned out after the 2 venture-backed companies? What was that time like for you?
I wouldn't say burnout because I was feeling okay. It was just hard to go into like those 2 failures, and I had to go to court to close the company because it had debts, and I was not able to pay for those debts. And my wife and I wanted to have a kid, and so I was not being able to like get money from my 2 first startups, and so getting a job seemed like the reasonable and healthy thing to do. And I was super happy about the job I got. It was super insightful. And that's basically what got me into B2B SaaS, which is what I'm doing right now. And so, again, happy actions.
Yeah, I mean, knowing you as I do, I can't imagine you working for somebody else other than yourself, and that's a compliment. And I know what it's like when a company that you've sort of put everything into, raised money for, sort of, falls apart, right? It's tough. It takes a while to get over sometimes.
But I do think, like, to come back to your point, like the combination of Twitter, X, and other social media, like the fact of you see every day people succeeding, they're like sharing their revenue milestones, and at the same time you have an app and it's not taking off, and you are shipping like crazy. You are like very hardworking, but it doesn't just work like that. Yeah, I understand that like burnouts could be very close, and you feel alone because you are just working remotely every day. And I disagree with a lot of things that he says, but Peter Leves on X talks about how friends, community, working out is and eating healthy and sleeping. He talks about that, and I do think it helps. Like keeping a nice way of living. Yeah, I do think it helps.
Sort of in this vein, you mentioned something to me last time we chatted, which was founders never know when they need to quit, but they definitely know when they need to continue. And that kind
Yeah,
of stuck with me. What do you mean
yeah,
by
yeah.
that?
That's true. That's so true. Like every time I reached PMF, there were times where I was just so overwhelmed with customer supports, with growth, like fire to handle everywhere, with the tech not holding up. And during those times you just know that's you just get so many things to handle because of the growth that you just know that you have something valuable. That's, I think, product market fit for sure.
That's actually similar to what Mark Andreessen said in a blog post from at this point, almost 20 years ago about product market fit. Everything's falling down around you. The customers are writing in constantly with support tickets. You know you're onto something. Cool. Okay, a couple rapid fire ones here. Obviously, Tibo, you're bootstrapping so many different products. You're not taking money from investors anymore, but who should founders, if anybody, take money from? Who's an investor they should?
But if I had to take money from someone, it would be from like other indie makers and other founders. I want like I want to take money from guys who did pretty much the same thing that I'm gonna do, and who would have like awesome advice, tips, and who could be a little bit more hands-on than any other investors out there.
What's one thing that you would change about the startup world?
Copycats. But again, like I think it's wrong to say that because I'm taking like I'm taking inspiration from existing software as well. So it's a little bit hypocrite to just criticize copycats and still be building stuff.
I think there's a fine line, right? It's
Yeah,
like, are you copying our landing page? Are you copying our onboarding? Are you copying the product versus getting inspired by an idea? What's the number one piece of advice you would give to somebody who's just starting out, first time founder?
it's hard, but just take the first idea that you have and ship it and show it to the world. And it's probably not gonna work, but you still need to do it because that's how you learn. That's how you get feedback, and that's how you get a much better idea and much better product to build.
And last one, what's something you believe that most people disagree with you about?
That's that quantity is better than quality because if you focus on quantity, you will eventually deliver higher quality than if you focus on quality only. You know, there is this study, I think it's from Harvard, that they gave an assignment and like they split the group into one group. They were just focusing on quality, and the other group they were just focusing on quantity. And the best papers coming from both groups were from the group delivering quantity. What I mean by that is you have a higher chance of delivering a very high quality product when you focus on the quantity instead of just trying to build the perfect thing from day one.
Yeah, you're more likely to find a global maximum versus a local maximum. Cool. Well, Tibo, thanks for coming on, man. Great to catch up and chat. You have so much going on. I don't even know what to plug. Where should people go to find you and use your products?
I think the one place where I onboard people is tmaker.io. T like the letter T maker.io. You have a link to my newsletter and my projects there.
Cool. We'll drop that into the description. Thanks again for coming on, man.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for listening. I write up my main takeaways from every conversation and make them available to all of our members at foundingjourney.com, along with a bunch of other perks and more content. If you found this conversation valuable, subscribe to Founding Journey on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. I post a new episode every Thursday. Also, consider leaving us a rating or a review. As a brand new podcast, this is the best way for us to get out there and founders to find us. See you next time.